Hello, everyone out there, and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day on today. Today is Friday, February. What is today? February the 2nd? Yeah, today is the 2nd. I had to think for a minute because the time just, and the month just go by so fast. But today is Friday, February the 2nd. And so I want to go right into the message that God gave me on today. And the title of my message is Blessed in the Chaos. Blessed in the Chaos. And what does that word chaos mean? It means total disorder and confusion. Total disorder and confusion. And how many of us have experienced this kind of chaos just up in our house and trauma as little kids? You know, from little kids, you done experience all kind of trauma, not because of what you did. You know, a lot of times it's because your parents, are dealing with all kind of issues. A lot of times they haven't been healed from childhood, their childhood. You know, a lot of times we pass generational curses on to the next generation because we haven't been healed and delivered from our past. And so a lot of people as children haven't been exposed to all kinds of things. You know, sometimes people don't even talk about it. You know, some people have grew up with parents that were drug addicts, sometimes alcoholics, sometimes criminals where they, the parents just in and out of jail constantly, just and then when they do come into the home, they causing chaos because of what they dealing with and bringing it on to other people. Then a lot of people done deal with parents that got mental issues, and a lot of times it can affect people in a negative way. But for some reason, it's a lot of us have went through all kind of things, including myself. But somehow God kept you. Even in the midst of all that, God has kept you, and you have grown up to be a well-adjusted person in society, mentally and emotionally strong. And sometimes you wonder, how did I even come out the way I did, especially the things that I was exposed to and that I was around. But that was because God kept you. He kept your mind, and He kept you strong because He knew that He was putting in you things that you were going to need later, and that everything that you've been through could be used for His glory, that God could use you for such a time as this. See, we don't go through anything without God knowing about it. Nothing we go through is without God's knowledge. And so that's what I'm saying. God kept you. He kept you despite what you went through. Because in my own house, my father was an alcoholic. My mother had mental issues. My mother went to the mental hospital multiple times. Multiple times. She was hospitalized and everything. But yet let me tell you something, neither one of my sister and brothers, none of us have dealt with that same thing my mother dealt with. Nor my father. None of us turned out to be alcoholics. None of us turned out to have mental issues either. And that's because God covered us and He kept us. And so that's what I'm talking about. God will keep you despite what you go through. God knows how to keep you. In Isaiah 43:2, it says, when y'all passes through the water, I will be with you. And through the river it shall not overflow thee. And thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon you. In Psalms 27:5, it says, in a time of trouble, He shall hide me in His pavilion. He shall hide me in the secret. He says, He shall hide me in the secret of His tabernacle. In the secret of His tabernacle, He shall hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. And so God knows how to keep us in spite of the chaos. In spite of the chaos. And so in the book of Job, it talks about how God had put a hedge around Job, and the devil was questioning him. The devil was questioning God about it. He was saying that he couldn't get to Job because of the hedge, and so that meant that the devil can't do anything to us unless God takes that hedge of protection off of us. And see, in Job's situation, God allowed the devil to touch all that he had, and also he touched his body, because his body, he was full of boils, but he told him he couldn't take his life. And despite all the things he went through, he remained mentally strong. His mind was still good. A lot of people didn't even, they don't even go through half the stuff Job went through, and they lose their mind. So God kept Job because he knew he had a purpose for Job's life. He wasn't going to let Job be destroyed. And so that's just like when we going through stuff. It seems like we're going to be destroyed in it. But God, he will keep you. He will keep you. And he has kept you. And so, and also, in the book of Genesis, it talks about Abraham concerning his seed. God made Abraham a promise that his seed, they were going to multiply, and they were going to be, I think he said his seed was going to be as many as like the seashore, the shells. Well, it was going to be a lot of people that would come through his seed, and so really they would become a nation of people. But the way they were going to be built into a nation of people was not going to be easy. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't even going to look like God was blessing them. Look like more like God had forgotten about them, really, because they end up being slaves. And they were slaves for a very long time, but this was all part of God's purpose for them. And so they were blessed even despite of what they were dealing with. And so I want to read in Genesis, the 15th chapter, I want to read that 13 and 14 verse. I said Genesis 15th chapter. And for anyone that is new to the channel, I read out of the King James Version. And it says, and he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So for 400 years, it was going to look like God wasn't even with them. Because if you're a slave, that means you suffering. And so it says, in that 14th verse, it says, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And so they were blessed in the chaos. They were blessed in the chaos. And see, we have to realize that God's ways are not our ways, neither his thoughts are our thoughts. And so God, the things that God does, a lot of times it don't look like he's blessing you. Like I say, a lot of times it might look like he's forgotten you or just overlooked you. But God knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. In the book of Jeremiah, it talks about how God's people, the Israelites, they were going to be in captivity for 70 years. 70 years. And they were blessed. They were blessed because, see, God was with them. God was still going to be with them even though they were going to be in captivity. And so I want to read in Jeremiah, the 29th chapter. This is not a very long message, just a word to encourage you. Jeremiah, the 29th chapter. I want to read 4 through 11. And it says, thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, into all that are carried away captive, whom I have caused to be carried away. from Jerusalem unto Babylon. In that 5th verse, it says, build ye houses, and dwell in them, and plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives, and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there, right in captivity, right where they were under the hand of the enemy. He said that they may be increased there and not diminished. And so, because God was with them, they were blessed. They were blessed. And see, God knows the end from the beginning. He knows the end from the beginning. And so God knows how to allow a certain amount of pressure to come in your life. He knows just how, to point that pressure, and when to let up, all of that. God knows how to get us to where we need to be. And God allows certain things to come in our life because it's part of your purpose and his purpose for your life. And so God knows that eventually, if we endure and don't give up, because you can't give up, that eventually he's going to produce a diamond. A diamond, diamond, when diamonds are crushed, when they say that pearl is crushed, it has to go through that pressure before it becomes a diamond. And so in 1 Corinthians, I want to read that 10th chapter and that 13th verse. It says, "No, there is no temptation taking you, but such is common to man. But God is faithful and will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation make a way of escape, that you shall be able to bear it." And then in Job 23:10, it says, "After he has tried me, I shall come forth as pure gold." As pure gold. So hold on. Change is coming. Amen. Bye-bye for now.